never smoke the dizzy, but we can always share some disease. It's just a cup in time. This song doesn't have to rhyme. Life's all of us, not every moment we can be feeling fine. I wanna share a moment, just a second if you will, maybe even a cup of thrill. We could share this performance. It's tea time, come sit with me.
Oh, welcome guys. Miss Liz in the house. That's right. I am back and I have Brad C. Anderson in the back of the studio and we're going to spill some tea today. And today's tea is flow, experience, and growth. That's the type of tea we're serving tonight. But before we get started, we're going to get everybody over to Miss Liz's YouTube, Spotify, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, all of those platforms. You guys all know those social media platforms. Give those a like, subscribe, and follow. And let's get these tea times out there because they all do make a difference for the guests and for the listeners and for Miss Liz as well. Because when we share, we make a difference together. So let's get started with disclaimer, bio, intro, all that good stuff. And let's spill some good, strong tea today. And if you guys have any questions or any comments or anything like that, you can put them in the studio or you can send them directly to Miss Liz and Miss Liz will get those out to you. I'll get them out to Brad today. And let's have some fun. Let's spill some tea together. So again, today's tea is flow, experience, and growth. That's the tea we'll be serving with Brad today. Disclaimer for Miss Liz's Tea Time live show. Miss Liz's Tea Time is a global platform dedicated to sharing real-life stories, diverse perspectives, and meaningful conversations that inspire awareness, healing, and connection. I'm Miss Liz is going live using StreamYard. Before leaving a comment during the live broadcast, please grant StreamYard permission to display your name at StreamYard.com. Please be advised that all the content brought forward during any Tea Time show is presented in good faith. However, discussions may include opinions, beliefs, and perspectives that do not necessarily represent the views of Miss Liz or the Tea Time platform. Information shared by the guests is based on their own experiences and is perceived to be accurate at the given time of airing. All guests, viewers, and participants are responsible for using their own judgment when considering any action or decision that may relate to these discussions. Some episodes may cover sensitive topics, including but not limited to trauma, abuse, grief, mental health, and other emotionally triggering subjects. Listeners' and viewers' discretion is strongly advised. Tea Time with Miss Liz is an open discussion forum designed to offer insight, inspire awareness, and create connection. It is not a substitute for professional, medical, legal, or therapeutical advice. If you require professional support, please seek assistance from qualified professionals or trusted resources in your area. If you have any questions regarding this disclaimer or the content of the discussion, you are welcome to contact me, aka Miss Liz, directly at my email, bookiemissliz@gmail.com, or visit my link tree at Miss Liz's Tea Time. By choosing to participate in, comment on, or view these live shows, you acknowledge and accept this disclaimer. Your participation is entirely voluntary. I, Miss Liz, welcomes you to join the conversation with an open heart, and if at any time you feel this platform is not right for you, I respect your wishes and decision and welcome you back whenever you are ready. Tea Time with Miss Liz is serving truth and awareness one cup at a time. I want to welcome everyone back to Tea Time with Miss Liz, myself, where imagination meets purpose and stories dare us to think beyond the ordinary. Tonight, this afternoon's guest blends science fiction, wisdom, and the human heart in a way that opens doors you did not know were waiting for you. Joining us is Brad C. Anderson, author, creative visionary, and storyteller of possibilities. Brad uses futuristic worlds to ask timeless questions about humanity, courage, and the choices that define our lives. His work invites us to explore how technology, experience, and imagination shapes the next chapter of the human story. This tea time is not just about books or ideals. It's about standing at the edge of what's known and being brave enough to wonder what's next. So take your seat, curiosity in hand. The future is calling today. And let me welcome Brad Anderson in here and let's spill some tea.
Hello.
Welcome, Brad.
How are you doing?
I am good. And yourself?
I got no complaints. Oh, well, it's I don't know where you are, but where I'm at, it's tons of rain right now. But yeah, it's all good.
Well, I'll take the rain, you take my snow, because I'm in Cornwall, Canada. So we got hit with snow last night. So you can have the snow.
No problem. Yeah, you don't have to shovel the rain. That's a good thing. Yeah.
So, Brad, I'm going to take you down the first rabbit hole, Miss Liz, and
Cool.
ask you the first question. Who was Brad as a little guy and who is Brad now?
Who was I as a little guy, and who am I now? That's fun. So who was I as a little guy? Uh, I don't know. I remember this when I was. I don't know if this is an emblematic story of me or not, but it's something I remember. When I was a young kid, I used to always want to try to get holes in the knees of my jeans as fast as I could. Like I just thought that was, I don't know, just a thing that I had in my head that I needed to do. And so what I would do is I would jump off of stairs and land on my knees when I was a toddler. I'd leap off stairs, land on my knees to try to wear out the knees and to get them all busted up and stuff like that. And that's who I was when I was little. Who I am now is like, oh man, your knees. What are you doing to your knees? You need those for like the next 80 years of your life, pal. Stop that. So yeah, who I am now, I'm like, yeah, I don't need holes in my knees anymore. And like, good Lord, jumping off of stairs and landing on your knees, like, that's how you get arthritis. Yeah,
So,
those emblematic stories of then versus now, but that's what comes to mind.
I always like going down that first rabbit hole with my guests because I get to know a little bit about who you were as a kid, right? So you were playful as a kid and you're still playful, but now you're like, oh, I got to slow down the little play.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I got to take care of my joints. I want to have fun. These joints, I'd like to get another 50 years out of these joints if I could.
And that's as we age, right? We learn some of the things we did when we were younger. We're just like, oh, what the heck was I thinking?
I know. It's like I wish. You see, you spend a lot of youth learning what works and what doesn't work, and then as an adult, you're like, oh, I should have known that didn't work. Why? What was I thinking? Yeah. Oh well.
So, Brad, do you have holy jeans today?
No, no, I don't. No, I don't. I used to, like, my mom would sew on the little patches. I don't know why I like this. I just, what it was, like the jeans advertised at the time was probably like Levi's, and I know they were like rough and rugged and like they were impervious to getting holes, and I just took that as a challenge, and I liked the little patches that my mom would sew on my knees. Don't need patch. All my jeans, no holes anymore. As soon as I get holes, I'm like, okay, those are becoming gardening pants now, or something like that. Yeah.
Well, we're going to take those gardening pants and we're going to go to the future and we're going to talk about your book, Brad. So I'm going to pull up your book. So for the audio listeners that are not seeing the video, if you could just share what the cover looks like, how long it took you to write the book and all that good stuff. We're going to dig deep into the book. So I'm going to pull that up so you can share that a little bit with the audience.
All right. So yeah, for those of you who can't see the cover, so this is the cover to my most recent book, Ashme Song. There's a lot going on the cover here. The artist was able to sort of cram in a lot of things going on in the story there. The main character is this young woman that is Ashme. She has sort of darker skin. As you learn in the story, she's actually there's actually like rivulets of blood on her skin. You'll learn that sort of as you get into the story. In the sky, there's a big ship that's kind of hovering over a city. In that city, there's a big large building. The things flying around. So yeah, that's kind of what's going on. That's kind of what's going on with that image. A picture is worth 1,000 words. I don't know how many words that was, but and then in terms of what the story is, it's a science fiction story. It takes place on another planet and with a civilization that's long story short, Ashme is the main character, and she has to choose between looking after her family and fighting for her country. The place where she lives is devolving into civil war, and she faces that choice: do I look after my family or do I fight for my country? What's the right thing to do?
That's pretty interesting, Brad, that you say that, fighting for your country, fighting for your family, because is that not what we're doing in today's world?
I know. Yeah. That's exactly. It's exactly a question, and it's the thing that kind of wanted me to explore that question was way back 2016, 2015, 2016 with the Syrian refugee crisis. There's a lot of refugees flooding all over the world, and some of the commentary and some of the news was like, what are all these young men like coming into our country for? They should be staying where they're at and fighting for their country, right? Rather than running away. And it kind of got me thinking, like, is it wrong to, like, if you're if your country, if your home is devolving into war, is it wrong to like get your family and get out of there? Like, or is the heroic thing to do to stay and to fight? And I think, it's, if you think about it in those terms, I don't think it's necessarily a straightforward, easy answer. And I kind of wanted to explore that in the story there. Like, what is the right thing to do? Should we get our family and book on out of here? Or, somebody needs to fight. Somebody needs to fight, but somebody also needs to look after the family too.
Well, and as you were describing the cover of it, I never noticed the blood spots.
Yeah, it's subtle. Like you wouldn't necessarily. The main character, her name is Ashmi, as I say, and she has this special ability. It's a science fiction, a special sci-fi ability. She has. There are certain in this world. There are certain people who have this ability to be able to control technology at a distance. There's in the ancient history of this world, there are these sentient AI. They blanketed this world with sort of like little nanobots, and there are certain humans that are born with this ability to control these nanobots, and they can use this to control technology at a distance. However, you need to power these programs, these things that you do. And the source of the energy for these programs is the person themselves. And so as they use these powers to control technology at a distance, they actually it sort of consumes their body a little bit. And if you do this in moderation, that's fine. You can, you do your thing, and then you can go and you can eat a big meal. And so, like in a lot of scenes, she's there with like a big tub of peanut butter and just hammering it back, right? Because she's trying to recharge after doing these types of things, right? But yeah, if you go too far, it can cause all sorts of physical damage. And so that's kind of the image that the artist was trying to capture. So yeah, if you haven't read the story, you wouldn't know that aspect of it yet. But after you read the story and you kind of see these, you see that impact, that consequence of using this ability, and then you kind of look back at the cover, you're like, oh yeah, I can kind of see what's going on there with her. So yeah.
So Asmer and Brad, you were talking about Asmer eating peanut butter. Is there peanut butter on her planet?
Yeah, there is. Yeah. Every story that I write, there's the peanut butter. That planet has peanut butter. I don't care. Yeah.
I love it because peanut butter, we need peanut butter. Come on, guys. We all need peanut
what's
butter.
Even the point? What's even the point? Can't have peanut butter wherever you go.
So you're a big peanut butter lover.
I'm a big peanut butter fan.
So do you throw humor into your storytelling?
Yeah, I do. I like my stories, like they're all serious stories, but I know there always seems to be that, little character that, there is humor in it. There's always some characters that kind of have a little bit of an oddball view. Either an oddball view or, they kind of say the things that we all wish we could say. And I'm like, this is me getting to say the thing I wish I could say through this character. So yeah, overall, like, they're serious stories. They're not comedies, I think, by any stretch of the imagination, but I think there is, sort of like tension relief. I think it comes out. That's kind of how I operate in real life. I'm serious. We got work to do, but you might as well have some fun along the way as well. So that kind of weaves its way into my stories also.
I like that you said that, that what we want to say, we can put into our stories, right? Because it's our way of expressing. Nobody will ever know that that's what we were thinking. It's the character that was thinking that.
Totally, yeah. And sometimes it's like, the characters in this life or death situation, and they, say this funny thing. And it's like, if I was in that situation, that's what I'd want to say, but I never want to be in that situation. So I'll probably never get a chance to say it. So I'll just write it there.
I love it. And that's a good storyteller.
Yeah.
Put it on the character. The character said it. The character thought of it.
Yeah, it's not me. It's the character. Yeah.
So how do you create your characters, Brad?
Yeah. So that's a good question. So in terms of like the mechanics of story writing, sometimes there's that's obvious. Okay, so obviously that's not an easy question. You got me thinking here. There are.
I think it's a good, isn't it?
It's a great question. All right. So when I think the reason why I'm hesitating, because I think readers and audience, they just they they like to hear that, like, oh, we just had these wonderful visions of characters in their minds and rewrite them. You know, the reality is that there is a little bit of that, absolutely. But there's also, you know, okay, there's a story I want to tell, and I need a certain type of person in the story to make that story possible, right? Like there has to be people that believe this and do this and feel this way in order for the story to actually progress. So a lot of times it's not a very fun and exciting answer, but you know, almost every question about like, where do you come up with this for the story? Almost every answer is like, well, it's driven by the story. To tell the story, I needed to have this world. I needed to have these characters, and these characters had to feel this and believe that. I do sometimes, you know, there is a little bit of an element of you know, I'm always kind of daydreaming. I'm always kind of daydreaming and thinking of things. And sometimes, you know, you just, oh, this would be a kind of a cool character. What could I do with that character? What kind of story would that character be in? So for example, this story with Ashmi's song, it was Ashmi and her brother. So there's two of them, they're twins, but her brother is has special needs and needs a caretaker, which is what Ashmi does. So Ashmi is looking after her brother. And I kind of had that vision like years ago, just, you know, just this pair, these twins, and, you know, one twin needed looking after and the other twin had to kind of look after them. I didn't have a story for it, but just kind of had that vision there. And then eventually I came upon this idea for this story, like, oh, I want to explore, should we look after a family or should we fight? And all of a sudden, like, well, that, you know, I kind of linked it back to that image of characters that I had a couple of years ago. Like those characters would fit this story really well. So yeah, it's a combination of things. It's always driven by the story. What's the story that I need to tell and who do I need to tell it? And then a combination of either I'll create somebody on the spot for it, or, you know, I might have this little catalog of character ideas that are just kind of kicking around in my head that I sort of bring forward into that story. Combinations thereof.
Well, we have some questions that came in for you, Brad, so I want to get those out to you. The first one that came in is, what draws you to writing deeply flawed characters, especially in harsh or extreme worlds?
Yeah, fun. Oh, because that's fun, right? Because those
It's fun.
those are great stories, right? You know, so yeah. So I like, for me, you know, I like exploring serious issues and themes. Like I want my stories to be fun. So I want you to be able to read my stories on a couple of levels, right? On one level, yeah, you could just turn off your brain and it would be a fun ride. But I also want there to be more underneath. Like if you want to engage with the story more, there's more depth to it. And I don't know, I really, you know, and so yeah, and so that's kind of, you know, I write these flawed characters in these really hard situations. I think part of it is related to some of the research that I've done. So in my other life, I'm a university prof, and I've researched organizational wisdom, even though nobody thinks that that's a real thing. And, you know, one of the things, you know, through that research, like you need wisdom in situations that are complex. You need wisdom in situations where people don't have all the answers, where they have limitations. And it's like, how do you muddle through those types of situations in a way that's meaningful? And so, like, I feel like that's an important thing for humans to explore and to, you know, we're storytelling creatures. And we learn and we gain stories and more and viewpoints through the stories that we consume. And so, yeah, I just felt like, okay, you know, it just all kind of resonates with me. I think it's important that we gain experience or learning or insight into how do we grapple with really complex situations where there isn't necessarily like clear good guys or bad guys. There's just different views, different sides that you can understand. And then how do you muddle through that? How do you muddle through that when you're limited, when you have your own, you know, particular, you know, experiences and backups? Like, I think that's the human condition. And so I want that to be in my story. I want those to be, in my stories. There we go.
Well, I did some homework on you, Brad, and I found you said something about organization wisdom in the Blythe Defiance. Am I
Blythe Defiance, yeah, and Blythe Defiance of the fact.
And you said, and then you put, why can't we put those two words in the same sentence?
Yeah. So I think, organizational wisdom, I think a lot of people, rightly so, are fairly cynical um, about organizations, about human institutions. We can all think of stories and experiences like in our own work of decisions that just those don't seem like they make sense. And so I think it's easy to get a very cynical view of organizations and their inability to operate or to act wisely. And so, yeah, researching organizational wisdom, I feel kind of, most people are like, I don't, are there wise organizations? Like, can an organization be wise? A lot of people are cynical about that, but I think they can, and I think they do. All right. I mean, when you look around the world, it's easy to look at all the bad stuff going around the world, but I mean, we've created this phenomenal, agricultural infrastructure that feeds billions of people and cities. We've created hospitals, schools, education. We've created all these things that add so much benefit and improve quality of life around the world, and there's absolutely still a lot of problems to solve. But I mean, we've done a lot of good like I think we should give credit where it's due. We've done some pretty amazing things in the time that we've had on this world, right? Us as human beings. So I think organizations can act wisely. It's just like how do we get them to do that on purpose? Is sort of my question, the thing I like to explore.
I'm the same way. I'm a big researcher, right? And I'm just like, why are we not searching and digging deeper into understanding things, right? Understanding our world, understanding the policies, understanding the bills, just understanding life in general, right?
Yeah.
Because it's right in our at our hands.
Yep.
We could spend a whole day watching funny, goofy videos all day, or we could research and we can learn stuff and
I know.
educate ourselves.
I know.
It's right in front of us.
Yeah.
I'm a big nerd, so like I'm gonna start looking into stuff like after this tea time. That's what I do with all of my tea times is after you guys teach me stuff,
Yep.
and then I'm
Yep.
like, I need to know more about this. You talked about human institutions.
Yeah.
Brad, is that something that you put into your stories?
Yeah. Yes, ish. Yes, ish. My stories, like there's certain genres of I don't know science fiction that kind of explore bureaucracies and social systems. I don't. Some of my stories they kind of touch on that. Like they kind of look at yeah. My first story, Duotero, really kind of explores the roles of like power, government, religion, and sort of looking at the roles that those sort of play in shaping society, which are human institutions, right? And just sort of looking at the human elements within those institutions. Um, so I do a little bit. My the thing that I say it sort of comes back to something that I said earlier. It's really looking at complicated situation. So what makes it complicated? There's a lot of different stakeholders, a lot of different sides, a lot of different groups that believe different things, that think different things, that have different goals, that are kind of the stakes are high. This is an important thing that needs to be sorted out. So yeah, sort of wrestling with those types of complex situations. That's kind of how I really explore, I guess, the themes that I uncovered in my research or that I'm interested in. That's kind of how the connection between my research and my science fiction writing, if you could call it that.
So, Brad, what themes do you return to most often, intentionally or instinctively?
Yeah, you know what? I it's um uh, the themes in a way, like the themes are very different from from story to story, but I kind of feel that if there's a unifying element to it, um a lot of it has to do with characters who desperately want to do the right thing, but they're in situations where knowing what the right thing is like is hidden, or it's not obvious, right? Or there's impossible trade-offs, right? So they desperately want to do the right thing, but they don't really know what the right thing is to do, and they struggle with that. So So far, I would say that's probably been a unifying theme. Like the stories are very different characters, totally different, I guess, surface level themes. I think the underlying theme underneath that would be characters really struggling with that. They desperately want to do the right thing. They want to be good people, but they don't know what the right thing to do is, and they wrestle with that through the story.
Well, we just had a question that came in for you, and it says, "How does researching organization wisdom influence your fiction of world building?"
Yeah, it's a great question. So again, again, a lot of it is a lot of world building is driven by the story that you want to tell. So when I approach a story, there's a theme that I want to explore, and then you need to build a world to explore that theme in, and then you build out the characters and yada yada yada. All right. So in terms of like, um, I believe wisdom has a very vague, everyone has a different definition of wisdom. But when I look at wisdom, we need wisdom dealing with big hairy problems, big complex situations. And so when I'm looking at world building, there's sort of the thematic elements of world building, then there's like the sci-fi elements of world building. Like when I'm looking at the thematic elements of world building, right? So I'm trying to create situations where knowing what the right thing to do is uncertain, right? And I think it's uncertain for the reader too. I think what makes the stories compelling is like the readers want the character to do the right thing, but the readers are also like, man, I don't know how they're like, what are they going to do? How are they going to get out of this, right? So a lot of that comes from creating opposing forces or opposing institutions within society that have goals that are very relatable, but are sort of opposed to whatever the situation that the main character is facing, right? So the stories don't necessarily the stories often will have like, okay, that guy is kind of a bad guy, that guy's a jerk, but I think in sort of grander themes, it's like, what? The antagonistic forces, I think, the readers can I can appreciate where they're coming from. I know what they're trying to do. I know why they're doing it. But sadly, given the situation, they're kind of opposed to the main character for a variety of reasons. And sort of, yeah. And so that's, yeah. So I want to explore those themes. And so that's, I'm doing the world building. Okay. I need to, this is the decision that I want the character to face. And so I need to create some kind of force or entity that forces that decision on them. And then I need to try to develop that force or that entity to have very very compelling and relatable, goals. Why are they doing it? Right. And I think, it might sound hard. I don't think it is hard, because that's the world we live in, right? Like if you whenever you look at opposing forces, if you stop and look at what's going on with the people on the other side, if you actually stopped and tried to not try to win an argument, but try to understand a perspective, you can understand other perspectives, and you can sort of okay, it's sad that we're not on the same side of things, but I think I get where you're coming from, right? So you can there's lots, history is filled with that type of thing, and you can research that and explore that and build those types of dynamics into your story. So yeah, I want to create these situations where it's not super clear and obvious what the right thing to do is, and characters have to wrestle with it. And so that sort of feeds into the world building to try to build that kind of complexity and that nuance, if you care. Yeah.
I think it's deeply important, for everyone to have different perspectives, because that's how we learn from each other, right? We get feedback back and forth. We have the pros, the cons. Why do you think this? Why do you think that? Let's have clean debates. We've lost that in today's society. Is a good clean debate, a good clean different perspective, right? You see a 6, I see a 9. I see a 9, you see 6. Neither one of us is right or wrong. We're just seeing different things at different angles.
Absolutely. And some things that came up with the research that I've done, my own personal experience, and things that I explore is not always, but a lot of the time, more often than we expect, the people that we might be debating or having a fight with or disagreeing with, oftentimes they kind of want the same thing we want. They just, they're going about it in a different way. Like in one of my classes, we have this wonderful sort of case study. It looks at people who are pro-vaccine versus anti-vaccine, and it's based on this article where they looked at sort of like it didn't try to judge good or bad. It just tried to understand this news article. Right? They interviewed a bunch of people who are anti-vaccine, like what's driving this behavior. What people who are pro-vaccine, like what's driving your behavior. If you peel all the arguments back, like they both want the same thing. They want to be healthy. They want to be happy. They want their families to be safe. But they believe different things. They think different things, and they're going about it in different ways. And it's like, okay, like you guys aren't actually enemies. Like you want the same thing. So we can stop. Like let's stop fighting. Let's put the knives down, and like instead of facing each other across the table, let's sit on the same side. Like this is and have a conversation and see is there a way we can oftentimes if you view things in that light, you can find ways that make more people happy, that sort of achieve a common good. Oftentimes you kind of view it as zero sum, like it's my side versus your side, versus if you can understand their side, suddenly you can start to say like let's do something that builds the common good rather than I win or you win, right?
Yeah, it's never about winning, right? It's about understanding each other once, and I think that was the biggest downfall of the vaccine was the division was couples were breaking up, families were breaking up. There was a big, huge division over a vaccine instead of understanding it. Yeah. That some wanted it, some didn't want it, and some chose to do it because they were out of fear. There were so many different reasons why people got the vaccine and why they didn't get the vaccine, and that as well, right, Brad?
Absolutely, and so in the course that I teach there, there's sort of these two back-to-back lessons. So like lesson one. Like in one week, we sort of explore the this issue of pro-vaccine, anti-vaccine, and we do that in the context of looking at people's values. The second week, we look at sort of the context of people like a rationality. How do they make decisions? How do they justify decisions? How do they understand the world, and so on. And for that class, we use this other case where it's this group of healthcare workers going into Africa, and they're looking at trying to eradicate the guinea worm. And similar to the anti-vaxxers, when you sort of look, when they go into these rural communities have very different belief systems, very different understandings of the causes and the cures and what's right and so on, right? So they have this very different understanding. And they, just at the very end of that article, they sort of like, what's led to your success, and they talk about like what the leaders of these healthcare workers do is they go into the communities. They meet with the leaders of the healthcare communities. They speak their language, and instead of like being sort of paternalistic about it and like, oh, you all need to have this medicine, they're like they're like how do we sort of honor your beliefs and help you at the same time with what we think is the right thing to do. So they have this very collaborative relationship with these rural communities. And then at the end of that lecture, I kind of go like, now go back to, we all lived through COVID-19. Think about how we in the West dealt with, how the pro-vaccine side in the West dealt with the anti-vaccine side in the West, right? Compare that to what these guys were doing in Africa. This collaborative, we honor your beliefs, we honor your systems. Like, how can we work together and still help and still sort of give our medicine that we think works best? That collaborative approach versus what we had in COVID, and it's like it's night and day when you kind of see that, right? And and the outcome is night and day as well. The outcome is night and day as well. So yeah,
and it goes right back to the beginning of our conversation, Brad. The different worlds, fighting for our country, fighting for our families. Even in storytelling, we're fighting the countries and the worlds, and and in today's world, we're fighting the countries and the worlds and our families. So that's why I like getting stories like yours on Tea Time, is because they resonate with what's happening in today's world, what's happening with humanity right now at this moment. So if you're not understanding it by having a one-on-one conversation, read a book. Into the character. The character is going to tell you that we're all messed up, we're all divided.
Amen to that. That's exactly the purpose of stories and storytelling for humans, I think. Absolutely.
We have a question here about Asmund's song. How did Asmund's song evolve during the writing for you, Brad?
Right. So okay. So Ashmi is a song. So how did it actually? Yeah, it evolved a lot. Okay. So I had this idea. All right, I want to explore this. What's the right thing to do to get my family and run, or to fight for my country? So I started to. All right, I need to create this society where there is a conflict that puts this person in the decision where they should they run or should they stay and fight. I wanted it to be, a sympathetic, like, it's not sort of power hungry, like it's a defense. The choice that that Ashmi faces isn't whether to join the king's army and to, like, pillage other lands. It's defense. It's defense. It's a righteous fight. I wanted to create that, so I created this society where she was an underclass, like she belonged to this underclass of people. They'd set up colonies thousands of years ago, and then a new wave of settlement kind of came over. They were more technologically advanced, and they basically colonized this planet. So she's sort of in this underclass with this other class of people that had sort of dominated society. All sorts of oppression that she's facing and stuff like that. And so yeah, so that's kind of the world that started to take shape now. So I'm doing all sorts of research into this. So with my stories, I do a tremendous amount of research. I spend this story it takes me years to write a story. So I spend a year or so doing research, and I research all sorts of situations of oppression all over the world, all over history. Just what does that kind of look like? What does that experience, right? Now, I think you said you're from Canada, right? I'm
Yes.
from Canada. I'm from Canada as well. And as you know, we're going through this reconciliation process with our First Nations people, right? Now, so I'm doing my research for this story, and I wanted, like, okay, like, we have this situation going on in Canada as well. Um, Over the last few years, there's been a tremendous amount of education that has become available to Canadians about this history. But at the time that I started to write this story, that process hadn't really happened a lot yet. Um, and so, just in terms of, like, how do societies give control, part of it is through controlling knowledge and education and so on. So, like, here I am. I was, a middle-aged person at that time. I was in my 40s when I'm starting to write this story. And I knew nothing about the history of Canada's relationships with the First Nations people. And so I'm like, okay, I should try to learn about this. And I tried to find books that would help educate me about this. But at that time, there weren't really any books available either. But I found one book. I found one book that was written by First Nations people with regards to sort of their experiences during this Idle No More protest that happened many years ago. And it's crazy because I remember the Idle No More protests, but I, like, never really knew what they were about, didn't really pay attention to it. And again, it's just this whole, this privileged class not having to really pay attention to what's happening underneath it. Like, that's one of the mechanisms of oppression. And here I am trying to, like, unpeel this at that time. So I read that book. And I learned more in that book than I'd learned through decades of education about our relationship with and this oppressive relationship that we'd had with the First Nations. And I remember reading that, and I had sort of these dueling feelings as I'm reading this. And so as I'm reading this, I'm like, man, there has been such a tremendous amount of injustice that my society has done to these people, and that we have benefited so much. Our society has benefited so much from the injustices we have done to those people. That is wrong. We need to find a way to make that right. How do we make it right? I sort of wrestling with that. How do we make that right? And on the one hand is like, um, all the benefits we have, I think we got unjustly. But that being said, I still love having hospitals and roads and all these wonderful things that come along with our society. And it's like, man, how do we make it, like, how do we square that circle? How do we make it right? And I don't know the answer to that. But all of a sudden, as I'm doing my research, I'm like, that's another theme that I want to explore in that story. And then and what that created is it created this whole new arm to the story, where there's another character in the story who is from the side of the, of the oppressive culture. that's trying to sort of squeeze down on this culture, that's trying to quell this civil war that's bubbling. And he sort of sees what's going on, and he also wrestles with this question. It's like, man, what we're doing isn't right, but I don't know how to make it right. So yeah, that's kind of how the story evolved as I'm developing it out. I have this idea, I have this theme, start writing it out, start doing research. As I'm doing this research, all of a sudden there's like, man, there's these other things that I think we need to explore also, right? And other angles, other angles through which to tell the story, right? Yeah. I could go on.
So Brad, what do you hope readers will carry with them long after they leave your worlds?
Yeah, first off, have fun. I hope you enjoy it. Have fun. As I say, I try to write exciting stories so that, if you like, we've talked a lot about some very deep stuff here, but you know what? If you're not,
That's what we do. We serve deep tea.
Yeah, deep tea, very dark, very steeped tea. But if you want, like, I try to write entertaining stories. So if you want to just like turn your brain off and have some escapism, like, I hope that you can get that out of my story. But if you are willing to sort of engage with the story and get a little bit deeper, what do I hope that readers get out of it? I would hope that they start to just that idea starting to imprint on their mind that the other side doesn't think that they're the bad guy. The other side thinks that they're the good guy and you're the bad guy, right? And a lot of our conflict isn't about I'm the good guy and they're the bad guy. A lot of the conflict is about sometimes it's just conflicting values, like they're good people, but they want something that's diametrically opposed to me. So we got to go head to head. Sometimes they want the same thing we do. We're just going about it the wrong way. But and this is something I tell my students as well, if you can understand the other side, there's power in that. Just because you understand them does not mean you agree with them. You can understand them and still disagree with them. And I would say that you don't actually have a legitimate reason to disagree with them unless you understand them, right? And if you understand them, though, that's power. That's powerful. Like, we should seek and yearn to understand those people we disagree with, because gaining that understanding gives us that's power. It's power if we can understand the other perspective. We have the power to change things. We have the power to anticipate. We have the power to collaborate if we can understand. And so that's if you can leave your stories, if you can leave my story, just with that, I don't know, that's that little bit of thought in mind, like, oh, maybe, like, what's going on with that other person over there? I don't necessarily agree with them, but what's going on with that person over there? I can try to understand. That's going to give me some power in terms of figuring out how do I move forward.
Well, I think understanding goes a long way, right? When we start to understand people and not judge. I watched a movie last night, and I was just right away, I was judging that person. I was just like, God, they're hard and they're mean and they're cold. But then as they shared the story a little bit longer, I was understanding, oh, they're covering their pain with this rudeness. You just never know someone's story. You never know what somebody is covering up or hiding, or or doesn't know how to express themselves. So they turn into this mean person, thinking that that's what the world wants to see, because they don't want to hear the sad story that they've gone through, trauma or abuse or mental health. You know what I mean? So we put on these masks, and kind of like COVID, right? We put the mask on and we cover ourselves up, and then we don't know how to express ourselves. And that's what I'm getting from this conversation, is that we have to start unmasking ourselves and start learning and start understanding that different perspectives is a good thing.
Absolutely. And I don't know where I first heard this quote. So I don't know who. I have no idea who to attribute it to, but it's not me. But it's like, there's peace and there's peace and grace and understanding that all these other people are doing the best that they can with the resources that they have at that moment in life, right? And if you can view people who treat you poorly through that lens, like, you know what, if you have abusive parents or relationships, or if you have whatever difficult situation or relationship you're in, if you can just remember, like, that person's doing the best they can with the resources that they have at this moment, and maybe it's not enough for me, and that there's a tragedy and a sadness in that, but they're just, we're all just doing the best we can with what we got, And
Yeah. No, and that's what I was telling my children last night. I was like, we really can't judge a book by its cover, because you don't know what that's inside that book, the
yeah,
stories and the chapter inside that book. And like you said, like you read that book about the idle no more, like the natives and all that. There's so much that we turned a blind eye to that we didn't know about. And then as we're learning about it, we're like, ooh, that is injustice too. you
what have we
know
done? Yeah,
it's like a wow moment for all of us.
yeah,
We were privileged to a
yeah,
lot of things, and they lost a lot of stuff. And I think those are conversations we need to start having at the table.
absolutely.
I'm glad that you're having those conversations with your students and that, and
Yeah,
and opening up that conversation and just saying, what do you guys feel about this? How do you feel about it? Like, what did you learn from this article or
yeah.
this exercise? I want to get into your tea before we wrap it up, because time is just flying by and we're getting into some really good conversation here, Brad. But the tea that you gave me was flow, experience, and growth. Why did you give me those three words?
Oh man, yeah, and that, it's like, well, it's like
I make my guests do homework.
yeah, yeah. What did I? Yeah, flow experience. What was it? Flow experience
And growth.
and growth. Okay, yeah. And you had like a question that prompted that, right? It was like,
Yeah.
what was? Do you remember what was the question that prompted that?
Your story.
Yeah. Okay.
The
Flow
story of you.
experience and growth. Yeah, my story. Yeah. So flow. In terms for me, like how I've flow. Um, for me, like life's an experience, where it's like you're on a boat floating down a river, and you go through life and you have all these wonderful experiences. Well, okay, maybe they're not all wonderful. You have experiences, and these experiences make a life, right? These experiences, all good and bad, the tears and the laughter, they all make a life. But it's like everything's transient, right? Like nothing's forever, right? You're just going down the river, and there's a beautiful view on the shore there, but you're going to turn a corner and you're going to lose that view, but there'll be something else there. There'll be something new, right? So for me, like that's kind of what when I talk about flow, that's kind of, I don't know, that's become my perspective on life, as now that I'm sort of well into advanced middle age. Just nothing's forever, everything's transient, things come, things go. Right now is my time to be bobbing down the river, and this is where I am, and this is what I see, but tomorrow it'll be something different. Right? And to be open to that, like it's a ride. It's just this stream of experience of experiences, which kind of leads into the second point: experience, right? We only have this life. This is it. And so I think this is your chance to experience everything that there is to experience. And then once this chance is done, you ain't going to get a chance to experience anything no more, right? And so yeah, it's like so it's like one hand is like you're flowing down this river, but the other hand, like be proactive, like paddle into shore, check things out, explore things, learn, experience, feel things, right? Experience joy, experience pain. Like all of this is what makes a life, right? And so experience, have that. And then, all right, man, what was the last one again? Flow
Growth.
and growth. Yeah. And I don't know. I think who you are now should be better than who you were a year ago, and who you are a year ago should be better than from 5 years earlier. Who I'm going to be in the future is going to be better than who I am now. Right? I think you should try to learn as much as you can about the world. Try to learn as much as you can about yourself, to grow, to be better, to be able to be capable of more, to be able to see more. Yeah. So we're all on this river here, experiencing things, paddling to shore, live life, experience things, and use that to grow as a person, to be better next year than you are now. Make sure that who you are now is better than you were, a few years ago, and just keep that trajectory going.
Well, it kind of goes back to the first question I asked you about who you were as a little boy.
Yeah.
You've grown since then. You're
Yeah.
not jumping on your knees now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Those knees won't last forever. I'm starting to see that. Yeah. Gotta take care of those.
And that's what it is, the tea, right? It's very simple. Our stories are very simple, but we make them complicated sometimes. We
Yeah.
overthink them, right? And
Yeah.
and that's why I like to get that out of all of my guests is, what is your story? What is your tea? What are
Yeah.
you serving, and what are you learning from your story?
Yeah.
You know, what have you learned from all the research and education and stuff? Uh, I want to get into some lightning bolt questions here
Okay.
and kind of just get to give me some fast answers.
That's that. Okay.
So,
I'm on it.
what we'll start off with the first one. Which fictional world would you most like to live in for one day?
All right. So fictional world I would most like to live in for one day. Okay. So this is science fiction nerds. The Culture series by Ian M. Banks. The Culture. That's kind of a utopian society. There we go.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
One word you'd use to summarize your writing style.
One word I would use to oh man, okay. That's a hard question. Thoughtful.
Oh, there we go. See, I'm making you think, aren't I,
Yeah,
Red?
yeah, yeah.
What's the strangest ideal you that has ever came to you unexpectedly?
The strangest idea that's come to me unexpectedly. Strangest idea that's come to me unexpectedly. Oh, is it okay that I stop and I think about these things?
Absolutely.
It's supposed to be a
We
lightning
need to
round.
process stuff, right? We need to think
Yeah,
once in a while.
yeah, 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 yeah. Um, You know what? This might not be the biggest idea that ever came to me. If, with more time, I might be able to come up with the biggest idea. But just in terms of like how I approach teaching, so I'm again by day I'm a university professor, right? And yeah, I don't know. I was at a staff meeting once, and this person. So currently in my current oh yeah. Oh yeah, so it's a situation. It's not one word. I'm like, do I have to do this in one word? Yeah. No,
He's like, oh.
I'm using a lot of words, more than one. Um, yeah. So in terms of, you know what, it's what's my role as an educator? Is you know, with university, there's there's sort of two schools of thought. One, university is an elite unit, is an elite institution whose job is to sort of like push people off the edge until you're sort of left with the cream of the crop. And then there's another school of thought that like, well, universities should be to elevate people. And most universities are structured around that elite model where it's like, you know what, you got 100 kids in year one, 50 of them fail, 50 kids in year two, half of them fail until you just have the cream of the crop. And that's when I started teaching. That's sort of the mindset I had. And I don't know what event it was. You know what? It was probably I had a class which had like a horrendous failure rate, and I was like, what am I doing here? Like, I don't think this is right. And sort of that okay, you know what? I think I'm going to choose, like, my job as an educator is to view university as something that elevates a society and the masses. So it's not exclusive. It doesn't push people out, but try to find ways and different ways of approaching teaching and assessing and grading that makes education that lifts people up rather than cuts them out. How's that?
And if your puppy had a superpower in a science fiction universe, what would it be?
It would be to get treats. It would be to get treats. She'd get treats from everyone. It would be like one of those things where you're just in a room and you don't even know what you're doing. You're just like all of a sudden subconsciously giving this dog treats, and you know, like, why did I do that? Where did those treats come from? That would be.
So that would be your doggy's superpower.
Yeah, that would be your superpower. Yeah.
Just walk in the room, treat.
Yeah, all of a sudden everybody's just giving a treat. Like, why am I doing this? Like, what's going on? Like, mind control. Yeah.
And what color does creativity feel like to you today?
What color does create? I'm always going to say purple. Purple's my favorite color, and you know what? It's a bonkers out there color. It's a creative color. It's a bonkers out there color.
Tell me why.
Hey,
purple.
you're wearing purple.
I am.
You're wearing.
You know why? Because I asked my guest what his favorite color was.
And I said purple, and you're wearing. Oh, okay, that's awesome. And
Miss
I noticed
throws these little things in there, and for all my viewers and listeners out there, then there's questions at the end of this season, and there's, what was Brad's favorite color?
Cool.
Well, you got to go watch the episode to find out what.
Watch the episode to find out. Yeah, I love it.
And that's how I get into your favorite color. See, we have the conversation of your color is through a flash.
I just want to say I'm a man, I'm a male, and I noticed the color of your shirt, and I think I actually got the color right. So I just, hey, there you go.
Well, and I had the word hint purple in brackets here.
Yeah.
I was hoping you were so going to say purple for that question.
Yeah.
So what is it about purple that you love, Brad?
I don't know. You know what? So what probably originally got me interested in purple, just visually, I think it's a cool color because visually it's a cool color. Scientifically, it's kind of a cool color because our brain doesn't, or like our eyes don't actually have receptors to see purple. It's like a little short circuit in our brain that fills in this gap in colors, and we call it purple. So it's visually interesting. Scientifically, biologically, it's interesting. The thing that first got me interested in purple, though, was that it was the color of emperors in ancient Rome. Only emperors could wear purple, and now everyone can wear purple.
I can wear purple.
Like, look how far we've come as a society. Now everyone can wear purple. It's not just for emperors.
And Brad, you gave me one word for you to describe yourself, and the word was chill. Why chill?
Yeah. I've had friends way back, and I've always been this way. I've always been. I'm not super reactive. If you back in high school, I used to have a friend. She's like, you've got one mood, the Brad mood, and it's like, yeah, that's about right. I'm very, for whatever reason, I'm just fairly even keeled. It's not like I'm not emotionless, but I'm not reactive. I just, I'm like just floating on the boat, going down the river.
He's just chilling, getting the experiences and growing from it, right?
Yeah. Feet dabbling in the water. Exactly. Yeah.
Which makes a lot of sense with your tea. Your tea was, flow, experience, and growth. And you're just a Brad chill, like the Brad mood.
The Brad mood. Yeah.
So, Brad, if anybody would like to know more about you or grab your books, where could they grab them? And if you could spell out your website for the audio listeners.
You betcha. The answer to all those questions is the same. My website. So it's bradanderson2000.com. So it's BRADANDERSON 2000.com. Apparently there's 2,000 of us. Yeah, so that'll, you can get my books on Amazon and wherever you buy books, you can find my books. But if you're like looking for a one-stop shop, just go to my website and it'll direct you to all the different choices that you have. So bradanderson2000.com, that'll get you what you need.
And Brad, do you have any upcoming events or anything like that, or new books coming soon?
No events. I'm working on a book for me. Writing is a slow process, a multi-year process. But I'm working on a new book. I'm almost done the first draft. It's a cross between Dune and Conan the Barbarian. So there we go. That's my little teaser there. A little bit of Dune, a little bit of Conan the Barbarian, all wrapped into one. So I'm working on that. It'll be out. It'll still be a while yet, I'm afraid, but it's getting there.
Brad, what's your final message to all the listeners today?
Be decent with each other. We're all just. Whenever I'm stuck in traffic, I think, you know what? We're all just trying to get home at the end of the day. Like, don't be a jerk. Don't be a dick to each other, right? Just be nice. We're all just trying to get home at the end of the day and enjoy our weekend. Just, don't make anybody's day worse. Don't make anybody's day worse. Make it better.
I like that. Don't make anybody's day worse. We're all struggling. We're all going through something.
Yep.
Well, Brad, I really want to thank you for sitting and having tea with me and having my listeners out there. I want to thank you to everybody that's tuned in today. I do see your comments and you in the studio. I do see you on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, all of those platforms that we're streaming to right now. So I really want to just thank everybody. But I'm just going to give a closing summary of what today's tea time was, and then we're going to wrap it up, and we'll be back at 7 p.m. with a second tea time. And tonight's tea time is about marriage and communication. So we're going to talk about some really good deep stuff there. What a journey beyond the boundaries of today. Brad, thank you for stretching our thinking and reminding us that stories are more than escape. They are maps to understanding who we are and where we might go. This afternoon, we learned that growth happens when we challenge our beliefs, explore the unknowns, and allow imagination to lead us forward. Science fiction becomes soul work when it teaches us empathy, resilience, and responsibility for the world we are creating. To everyone watching, may you carry this spark of wonder into your own life ask bigger questions, welcome new perspectives, write the future with intention. And until next tea time, keep dreaming forward and living brave. And I'll see everybody same time, same place, and we'll do this all over again. And I really want to thank you, Brad, for this enjoyable conversation today with you.
Thank you. Thank everybody out there. Great questions.